In 2021, there was a report put out by United Way on older adult homelessness. They found that across LA County, older adults make up 25% of the county's unhoused population and will be the fastest growing age demographic through 2030. That report also found that California showed a large number of older adults were experiencing homelessness for the first time after the age of 50, like Lisa Chilton, who couch surfed for 5 years.
I know that I've got the $3.37 in my change purse. I know that I am overdrawn. I know that I am trying to make it at that time on less than $800 a month.
From HEATDRAWN Media, this is Reputation, the podcast for nuanced conversation and self-reflection. I'm your host, Ethan Ward, and this season is all about the intersection of reputation and homelessness, whether it's personal or professional, and how all of our lives intersect. Lisa Chilton first appeared in my life almost 2 years ago. I was working on a story about older adults and was floored that this woman who had a great career in LA ended up having nowhere to live.
I had been technically homeless, doing what I called sofa surfing between 4 or 5 different residences from Redlands to Venice, West Hollywood, and other parts. And, through the grace of God and the kindness of friends, I was given shelter, but had been without a sanctuary for quite a long time. That came about through a series of events that affects many, many people. Found myself on disability, started eating through my savings. Family members became sick, needed care. Those family members were in Chicago, so it required me to leave, care for, see them through death. Over a period of 3 or 4 years, I lost my mother, my grandmother, my uncle, and a very close cousin. And continued draining the savings, health expenses and so forth, not employed, fighting workers' comp, living without income, all led to, golly, my rent-controlled apartment of almost 18 years, I'm going to have to give up. I was offered a buyout, took it. It bought me 2 more years. At the end of those 2 years, I found myself in a rooming house situation, renting a room for almost all of my income, and it went downhill from there, if you will.
We sat down to chat at her apartment in Hollywood recently about getting older, not having a home, what her life is like now, and what she's learned after 5 years of experiencing homelessness. You were 63, I think, when we met. When
we met, yes, I was 63 years old. I am currently freshly 65.
Okay.
Yay for me.
And freshly looking lighter than the last time that I saw you.
Oh my
as
golly.
Well. I have pictures of with you when we first met, for the story. And looking at you now, you are glowing, you are smiley, your place looks extremely lived in now. When I first
ordered, that people understand, because many people take lived in as being a hot mess.
Well, it's definitely not a mess in here. It is a studio apartment.
Even though it's a studio, we have living zones.
Yes.
And they're very organic, I think, living zones.
Yes. It's a very cozy space, and I can tell that you have settled in very nicely here.
It's home. It is truly my sanctuary. It is what I was without for 10 years. I mean, the thing about having, a place or a home or an apartment or a house, it can be just that. But what people don't really understand until they lose it is that it is a sanctuary, that it is the one place that you can truly be you, that you can find spiritual succor. Whether it's you chant, you pray, you study scripture, you watch YouTube, whatever that means for you. It is the one place that means safety, that when you close that door, the world is on the other side. And when you don't have sanctuary and you're always in someone else's space or you're beholden to someone else, it eats at you both emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Not to mention, it is a strain physically.
Yeah. You said in the story, I wrote a note down, and this always stood out to me. You told me it was almost as if I had to put on a different Lisa skin for every place I went. When you're laying your head down on a different surface every couple of weeks, when you're older, it changes your body. Every couple of weeks, I was in pain because I was adapting to where I was sleeping again.
Oh, absolutely. My body gait had to change every single time.
Right. That's why I'm looking at you now, and you've lost so much weight, and you look so vibrant. And I'm like, this literally is like a manifestation of this concept that you were talking about the toll that it takes on your, not only just your mental health, but your physical body.
Getting my own home, though God has always gotten me through all of this, and it's been his purpose for this journey. My relationship with him just blossomed when I was home again, when I had sanctuary. And through that, I have gained not only more peace, but I have been brought to a place of emotional healing from whatever garbage I carried from my youth or childhood or whatever. I stopped being self-destructive. That ebbed away. It's not so much that I felt worthy, but I knew that this was supposed to be for me. So everything has just fallen into place, coincided with when I got this home, so about 20 months. Mm-hmm. And it is still progressing, and it's a little over 80 pounds. It's about 84 pounds at this stage.
That is amazing. And
I call it a side effect.
A side effect.
It's a side effect.
Being home. A good
it's
side effect.
It's a side effect of being home.
Yeah.
It's a side effect of, yes, intermittent fasting, of removing foods that were basically poisonous to me. Mm-hmm. It's like a personal miracle.
Yeah.
It really is.
But I want to be clear, because people really may not understand this. Describe what your life was like before you were in here. Because I'm thinking about when you were telling me about sitting at the bus stops and waiting on the bus and constantly on the bus.
Wow. Sometimes, and when you describe it that way, Ethan, it's like, oh yeah, I did live that way. Well, 2 years ago, it was, again, I lived between 4 or 5 different places. And generally, I wasn't anywhere longer than 3 weeks at a time. Mm-hmm. The average was 2.5 weeks. Some of those places were family homes where there were children and a mom and a dad. So I was, either in a set bedroom or I spent time in the backyard. It meant packing and repacking my suitcases, which I had two mm-hmm. suitcases and a backpack, every couple of weeks. So, that's what I lived from. Mm-hmm. And, I can pack with one arm tied behind my back, blindfolded in 27 seconds. Anything and anybody. Yeah. But it was going from place to place. One of my friends was a single female. She dated. She had friends over. Mm. So there were times when I was staying there where I'd find myself sitting on the bus stop because they had company, or I was too early to be someplace else. I wasn't supposed to be there until a certain time of the day.
You're sitting there with your bags while your single friend is having a lover. Is that what it was?
I called them her boy toys.
Boy toy.
But anyway, my mindset often was one of fighting with myself. Mm-hmm. Fighting, and what I mean by that is knowing through my faith that I was going to be okay, but being scared as hell. Yeah. Because I was in my early 60s. I am a survivor of 24 surgeries. Both my knees have been replaced. My ankles have been rebuilt. When I was in my mid-40s, my body was already, according to Western medicine, more like 80 years old. Mm. So I'm doing all this up and off buses and trains and carrying suitcases with a body that is not only in not the best shape, but I am almost carrying an extra human being on top of it.
Yeah.
So there I am fighting with myself, uplifting myself with, Lisa, it's going to be okay. God's got your back. But my humanness, I am sitting on a bus stop. I've got people staring, or at least I think they are. I know that I've got the $3.37 in my change purse. I know that I am overdrawn. I know that I am trying to make it at that time on less than $800 a month. I know that yes, I have these people that love me, that care for me, but if I don't stay small, if I'm not gone in a few weeks, will they still? But you're living in this world without shelter, without private transportation, without a place to call your own, with no real means to get that, on top of still having some health issues, needing that care, fighting with, the county on your food stamps, wondering how you're going to get the income that is rightfully yours. I mean, all of this, those things are all going through my mind while I'm sitting on that bus stop. At the same time, wondering, are they going to be done soon? Will I be able to go in soon? And then thinking about what's next.
Yeah.
Will I go to Sarah's next? Will I go to this next person?
Yeah.
Now, I also want to state that I believe that struggle and hardship is a part of our lives.
Yeah.
And this is not to say that hardship and struggle for me is in the past. I am human. I live in this world. I still have it. However, I have sanctuary to come home to. I still have keys to other people's homes. None of them would accept their keys back.
Yeah.
But what's happened now is, now that I do have my own home, I am free to go other places without carrying the baggage of fear, without carrying the baggage of being a 60-plus homeless woman. I don't have to stay small when I go into other people's homes. Better yet, I'm not carrying practically everything I own.
What was your idea of your reputation and how you saw yourself in that time?
Not very well. I'm someone that believes in responsibility and not shirking it. And though where I found myself were through a mini series of things that were technically not my fault or responsibility, I still felt responsible.
Yeah.
That somehow I had failed. That somehow I must have done something wrong. Mm-hmm. My reputation then in how I saw myself was probably a false image. I sometimes saw myself as others saw me, but that's how I hoped they saw me. And I often felt like a fake because I didn't feel worthy. Mm-hmm. It was this like constant darkness of self-doubt that was put there to try and drag me down. I never fully gave in, but sometimes in one of those beds that wasn't mine, or sofas that I was on, or folding beds, the tears would come and the fear would come, and I'd feel like that fake and that phony. And then it's like, no, you're not, and this too shall pass.
Did you ever feel shame? I struggled with that a lot when I was living in my car. It was these deep feelings of shame that I carried around for so long. And when I finally told my story, I realized I don't know why I was so ashamed. But did you experience similar
I
feelings?
Absolutely experienced shame. And it's never that I thought I was the only one. This goes back to what I was talking about, responsibility, that somehow I had failed. I had made a mistake. And that everyone else was able to, run this game of life and not be in my situation. So somehow I had done something wrong. And because I do have such a strong circle of friends and also associates, I found myself comparing.
Yeah. But now you don't feel that way, obviously.
Not only do I not feel ashamed,
Yeah.
I realize that every single moment I went through in these last 10 years has been purposeful as an example and as lessons not only for me, but for others.
I wonder if a lot of what we perceive reputation to be, like when you were sitting at the bus stop and you said, I knew that my account was overdrawn. I knew that I didn't have anywhere to be. Was that informed by society at large? The messages that we get about people that are experiencing homelessness?
Oh, absolutely. I've heard the mummerings myself when I've been out from perfect strangers. Oh, they need to do this. They need to get a job. I don't know why we can't have this anymore. I don't have an open heart anymore because I feel like there's a reason their parents don't want them or their sister doesn't want them or they're in that tent. There is a hardness now in this world and a coldness. And because of that, it has become easier and easier to hate, to dismiss, to judge. And when you judge and hate and dismiss, you stop caring. And when you stop caring, that's when the atrocities come. Often, someone's reputation isn't about them. It is about how they're perceived and how they're actually judged through that perception. When you're in a state of homelessness, however that state was manifested, it needs to be received with an open heart and understanding. Don't worry about how they got there. Help them come out of it. The other thing to remember too is, yes, that is a physical state, but the danger is what it's doing to the mental state, the emotional state, and what it's doing to them spiritually. Because if you are spiritually deprived, and again, people, I'm not talking religion.
Yeah.
I am talking a grounding beyond your human self. That if you lose that and if you don't have that, you start losing your humanity. You know, I am more contented, the happiest I've ever been, if you can quantify happiness. I am at the most peace I've ever been, and I could care less. I have exactly what I need. Therefore, my wants have become less.
Yeah.
I know my heart has been way more opened. I like this Lisa and the state that she is in now way more than Lisa 10, 15, or 20 years ago.
Yeah.
In many respects, I am no longer that Lisa.
We talk about other people's perception. How are they perceiving you today? What is Lisa's reputation today? What does Lisa want to be known for?
A child of God, someone who lives her life for the purpose of others, who cares more about you than I care about myself. And I honestly mean that. What I'm saying to you is that we each individually have a choice every day to choose to step into the light and be grateful for what we have and look at the little things that may trip us up or that may be an irritant as whatever. Keep going. Don't let it take your joy or your smile, and stay aware of the fact that your fellow brother or sister, that fellow human that you may or may not know, that you may or may not have personal love for, find Calvary love. And what I mean by that is a love apart from yourself. Love their humanity. You don't have to like them. You don't have to understand who they are. You don't have to agree.
Yeah.
But you tolerate, you love, and you accept in spite of. And if we all do that, and I don't mean to sound like rah-rah, humanity, but basically what I'm saying is this is important because when we come back to this whole reality of homelessness, and please understand, all that means is you don't have a legal right to a domicile. You don't have a lease, a mortgage, or anything else. Now, many people are living on sofas, are in rooms, or part of someone's home that's not theirs, and they may not see themselves as homeless.
Yeah.
It's a very short step to the reality of feeling safe in a sanctuary and not having a sanctuary.
Yeah.
There's one other thing I want to touch on in what I believe is an epidemic of homelessness. Whatever has been the cause of it, or the accelerator, if you will, whether it's been like me through a series of life events, if it's through health issues only, if it's because of addiction, if it is because of a major upheaval or tragedy, whatever that has been, don't let it overshadow the fact that that human still needs help.
Yeah.
One other thing to remember is that the longer someone is in homelessness, the longer they live in helplessness, the harder it is for them to come back. We have people in this building from all ranges of the spectrum, those that are paying full market rent, that have huge bank accounts. We have those that maybe get $100 a month in income, that maybe this is the first home they've had in 20 years, and everything in between.
Yeah.
There have been souls that have come from what I think of as real homelessness, that tent on the corner or under the viaduct for 20 years, and have not been able to come back. They have not been able to heal and have walked away from their apartments.
Yeah.
And gone back to the streets. I think of myself as someone who was given a gift, embraced it, and it came at a time that I still could embrace it.
And embrace it she has, which has given her the ability to help others. When I met Lisa 2 years ago, she was hesitant to be interviewed for the public radio story I was working on. But she eventually agreed, saying that if it could help one person, then it'd be worth it. Turns out, it was. But I'll let her tell the story.
Just before my 65th birthday, I was at the McDonald's parking lot. Now, that's become a routine of mine in this last year. My lovely sister put the McDonald's app on my phone so that I could get their special of their $1.09 coffee. She even put her credit card on so I could be guaranteed this treat. So 2-3 times a week, I hop in the car, drive the 6 blocks to McDonald's, get my $1.09 cup of coffee, and I park and I have a cigarette or two, check my emails, play a little game on my phone. Well, in doing that over the last year, I've gotten to know a few regulars in the lot. There's this blue car that I've started noticing in the lot that's got plastic on one side of the door. And about a week or two after I first noticed it, the car pulled up next to me. The driver rolled down both her windows, introduced herself, and just started chatting me up.
What happens next, Lisa describes as fate. After introducing herself and parting ways, Lisa goes out of town for a couple of weeks. When she returns to the McDonald's parking lot for her coffee, she bumps into the woman in the blue car again.
This woman pulls right in next to me, windows going down, and she's already talking. And the first thing that I can actually understand is she's saying with all this emotion in her voice, "Oh my gosh, Lisa, oh my gosh, you've given me hope, you've given me hope." And I'm thinking, okay, that's kind of weird. So she continues to talk, and then she's saying things like, "And when you said you were sitting on a bus stop and you didn't know what you were going to do, and when you talked about sofa surfing, and oh my God, I'm adopting that now."
Turns out, the woman, who is also over 50, was living in her car. She found the story I wrote about Lisa, who was very confused, by the way. How?
And I said, "Did you hear the interview?" She said, "I'm a Googling fool, Lisa. I Googled it and I realized it was you. And I read the whole article. I didn't know you had been homeless. I didn't know you had gone through all this." And then she started repeating again how I had given her hope.
Lisa was able to connect the woman to services at the LA LGBT Center in Hollywood, and she could find housing soon, just like Lisa. But there are increasing numbers of older adults who are in situations just like the woman in the blue car. Some are documenting their experiences of homelessness on social media apps like TikTok.
My name is Judith, and I've been living in my car at 72 years old since the end of February. The first thing I do when I get up, I go and get a cup of coffee. Good morning.
Sharing stories like this lets people know they aren't alone.
Because it is a fallacy that we do it alone. Yes, everybody needs a village.
Yeah. I'm going to end with this quote, because this really stood out to me as well when we last talked. And you said, "Most of us go through life with very little upheaval or change. We see people who sleep on the streets as them, but it's not them, it's us. And at any time, we can be out there on those streets."
Absolutely. I feel more strongly about that today than I did even then.
Yeah.
because everything is transient. You have this moment, and any particular moment can have incredible upheaval, disaster, strife. You don't often see it coming. You cannot predict it, but it is how you respond to it and how you rise.
Yeah.
It is so easy. We are all them, because the minute you can formulate a them or those people, you're in trouble.
So how can you help? Find a local organization in your community that works with older adults. See how you can get involved. If you're in LA, you can also support the LA LGBT Center's Senior Services Department. You can also support the work of the United Way of Greater LA, who authored the report on a strategy for addressing older adult homelessness by going to unitedwayla.org. Reputation is a production of HEATDRAWN Media. This episode was written, reported, and executive produced by me, your host, Ethan Ward. Sound engineering by Joshua Chang. Original music composition by James Ingram of Mega Dream Productions. Art and graphics by Kelly Bernard. We're grateful for your support. If you haven't yet, please subscribe and rate our feed in Apple Podcast or wherever you're listening now. Or you can do us even better. Share it with your friends. Join the conversation on Twitter or Instagram at ReputationPod, or hit me up at I am Ethan Ward. You can also email us at reputation@heatdrawn.com.